All right, let's see what card we have today. Ooh, card 38. You are what you hate. Did I just get into another rhyme spray? I think I did. What is going on? I got that idea of rhyme spray from DEL, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, if you know him, and if you know hieroglyphics, and if you know that whole Oakland scene. Shout out to everyone out there, and mention in the comments. This is John Paulus, and you're listening to the Life's Potluck Buffet. Okay, this card is a really deep one, and it's a real good one. Let me read it to you. Think of a job that you criticize or despise or perhaps look down upon. Now fill in the blank with this hated, quote unquote, hated job and say it out loud. I am a blank. How does that feel? What do you really mean to say? You might find something you need to do. So I love this card because it's a way of getting at things that we love to do and want to do by thinking about jobs that we supposedly or claim to hate and thinking about reasons why we hate them. So the first thing that came to my mind was, well, let me rewind. I've been watching this show called Would You Like a Coffee? It's a Korean show. It's about a cafe and it's about work. And so many of those K-dramas and Korean shows in general are about work. It tells you a lot about how much art and culture are thinking about that element of Korean life. And I find it fascinating, as you know, since I'm fascinated by work. Then you'll see coming up that one of our cards has to do with K-dramas. And I really think that they are very informative about work culture, not just in Korea, but I think in other places as well. I certainly resonate with the issues that they bring up. So in this K-drama, at least in the first season, the idea of being a barista is an important meditation. And so I'm going to say barista. I'm saying I am a barista. And I think I'm saying that because I'm thinking of like food service work here. And something in there that let's say we're going with food service work and the idea of being a barista. And by seeing how that makes you feel, you could try to understand how that actually is you talking about how you really operate. That in fact there is something about that is you. And think about what it is. For example, it might be a service orientation. It might be the fact that you enjoy interacting with people and you enjoy the context of that and you enjoy doing things for people. But it may be that it's something that it's hard to embrace. And trying to understand why is it hard for me to embrace that part of my work life is what the card is getting at. And so you might say, okay, well, how can I turn this so-called hated job into a job that I love? And think about the parameters of that job. So still have it be that service job, that food service job, but think of the circumstances under which that job would be one you loved rather than one you claimed to hate. And there are elements that you find out from that are elements of things that you positively want in your life. So say, for example, I hate thinking about being a barista, but the reason I hate that is because the people who come in are, maybe some of them treat me in a way that makes me feel really bad. The odds are they probably feel pretty bad about themselves. We know how that works. But think about that. When you're in a job that faces a public audience, customers, whoever walks in, that kind of job, there's the tendency to focus on the people who are going to complain, the people who are going to say things to you that might not be so nice. This relates to the last episode with the card number 2, when we were thinking about how that man who had the illness in ancient Greece and thought that all the ships belonged to him, that the lesson of that whole story was to think of ways in which we can focus on the flourishing rather than focusing on the pain and focusing on the lack of flourishing. This card is a really nice companion card to that because it's saying the same thing about jobs that you're doing, where you can figure out the parts that are the negative ones and put those aside and think about what the positive elements of those jobs are. So to go back to the barista job, you might say, but it's really nice when somebody does say, "Oh, this is terrific. Thanks so much." Says your name, thanks you for it, explains why they think it's so great, why you're great, and they hope you have a great day and a nice weekend, and they'll see you next time. If we see those interactions, then all of a sudden we realize, oh, wait a second, there's nothing inherently about this job of barista that I hate. In fact, maybe I would like that job. It's just a matter of I was focusing on the bad treatment that was possible instead of focusing on the good treatment that's possible. Or maybe there's something with other situations involving the many aspects of any job that you bring up. But think about those aspects. Try to get to the bottom of it. Try to get to the point at which you're saying, here are the elements of this job that I actually don't like, that I hate them because these make me feel bad. And take those elements and figure out what would need to happen for you to feel good about those elements. And when we say these things, the odds are that we're getting at a job that they're elements that we really feel good about, but the negative ones are foremost in our minds so that they overshadow the parts of the work that we love, that we want to do, and that we flourish when we do. So that's why this card is so important to the deck, because in the same way that all of the cards, through a kind of side door, get to a place where you're revealing truths about yourself, to yourself, about the way you work, how you work, what you want to do for work, what your goals are, what your hopes and aspirations are. Finding out those things by eliminating the blockages. Do you remember in the other episode I was talking about being the person who eliminates the blockages? Well, this is one way in which I do that. I try to identify what's preventing us or hindering us from understanding the work life that we need to have to be flourishing. Then I'm saying, okay, now let's see the other side of this coin, where these same negative elements, if thought of as the opposite, become the very things that we love about that work. So when I was talking about the barista, I said the negative thing is someone comes in and they're a jerk and they say all these things and you're really upset and so on and so forth, and they go out in a huff. Think about being that same barista and someone comes in and says, this is, the most flavorful cup of coffee I have ever had, and this is so amazing. You are so amazing. This is great. I love this place. I love everything. I'm going to have a great day now. I'm going to go out there. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great weekend. And then you could see, wow, that kind of barista. I would love to be that kind of barista. It's no longer the kind of job you hate because you've eliminated the elements of it that have overshadowed your opinion of that particular work, because you were really saying something that you love. If you enjoyed this video, please love it by liking it. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, that would be terrific. And if you'd like to see more cards from Life's Potluck Buffet, head over to lifespotluck.com for additional cards and to order a pack for yourself. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.